Recap, Tales of Herding Gods, Chapter 501, Chapter Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. The past human emperors inclined their heads in silent accord, their expressions carrying the same sentiment. Even though, in the eyes of their masters, each human emperor seemed like a figure begging for a beating, never before had they encountered one so thoroughly deserving of being beaten by all of them at once. Every human emperor of the past had stood at the peak of their generation. It was never mere status that commanded reverence from the sects beneath the heavens, but rather their overwhelming strength, power, enough to sweep aside all rivals of their era, leaving scarcely a single worthy opponent. Any human emperor who had not crossed hands with the gods of high heavens would feel too ashamed to face their ancestors after death. Yet in any given generation, how many could truly reach such heights? And yet Qin facing such overbearing and tyrannical masters, had the audacity to claim he feared injuring them. He even went so far as to say their techniques and divine arts had long since fallen behind the current age. How could they possibly endure such words? Third ancestor stepped forward, his expression indifferent as frost, his tone calm, yet carrying hidden sharpness. All human emperors of the past are proud to the bone. Even in death, their arrogance does not diminish, always eager to test themselves against others. Yet you are the first to say we are behind the times. Human Emperor Qin, how remarkable. Disciples beating their masters is nothing new. Take me, for instance. I have struck down that old geezer before. Fourth ancestor spoke with cold indifference. But to claim you will beat all the old geezers at once, human Emperor Qin, your voice is truly not small. I would very much like to see whether you possess such ability. Third ancestor shot him a dark glance. Second ancestor's aura rose like a towering mountain as he spoke with authority. Human Emperor Qin is still among the living, so the manner of our battle requires consideration. However, first ancestor once left behind a treasure that should still remain here. It is called Between Life and Death. It allows us to stand between the realms of the living and the dead, an ideal place to exchange blows. The past human emperors furrowed their brows. First ancestor is not here. Who among us can wield Between Life and Death? Second ancestor smiled faintly. As first ancestor's disciple, when he is absent, I am the master of the sacred hall of Five Yang. Naturally, I can use it. Be still. I know this place better than I know my own home. Wait here, I shall retrieve it. Curiosity stirred among the gathered emperors. Though they had heard tales of Between Life and Death, none had ever laid eyes upon it. It was said that first ancestor, in longing for his wife, had forged this treasure to open a path into Yudu so he might meet her spirit. Yet such treasures were rarely created. Few found use in them, and their power was limited. And yet, to use Between Life and Death as a battlefield between the living and the dead, such ingenuity could only be called extraordinary. Not long after, second ancestor returned, yet his hands were empty. The others were immediately puzzled and asked in suspicion, Second ancestor, where is Between Life and Death? This is Between Life and Death. Second ancestor's sleeves trembled, and from within them surged forth a vast river. Like a celestial dragon emerging from hidden depths, the river poured out of the sacred hall of Five Yang, expanding wider and wider, stretching across hundreds of miles as it floated high above Fengdu City. The group hurried outside. Before them, a majestic river hovered in the sky. A long bridge spanned across it, and beneath the bridge rested a beautifully adorned pleasure boat, quietly moored upon the current. The emperors burst into exclamations of admiration. To reunite with his wife, first ancestor exhausted immense magical power to create such a treasure. Come, come, let us ascend the bridge. Qin followed closely behind. The instant his foot touched the bridge, a strange transformation occurred. Flesh and blood began to grow upon his body once more. In the realm where the living became skeletons and the dead regained form, this bridge and river could reverse such laws, restoring his physical body. It was a marvel beyond comprehension. The past human emperors stood upon the bridge as well, yet their flesh and blood did not fade. Their bodies remained complete. Clearly, this was the wondrous power of Between Life and Death. When I controlled the moon ship as the moon guardian, I had to endure the suppression of the living realm of the dead while maintaining a fleshly body. Compared to that, first ancestor's power far surpasses the moon guardian. Chinmu marveled inwardly. First Ancestor Human Emperor's abilities were unfathomable mysteries, undoubtedly one of the greatest talents of the founding Emperor era. And this between life and death is far from useless. It is an incomparably powerful tool. His eyes flickered as his thoughts surged. In an instant, he grasped its greatest potential. It allowed Fengdu to interfere with the world of the living, to directly influence reality itself. Between life and death could serve as a gateway, allowing the gods of Fengdu to descend upon the mortal realm. Though the river seemed limited in size, its significance was immeasurable. If tens of thousands of gods and devils from Fengdu descended upon the living world, who could possibly stand against them? If used properly, this treasure could become a weapon of unimaginable might. Chinmu stood at the head of the bridge, gazing toward the distant flow leading into Yudu. Beyond, faint darkness lingered like an abyss. The river itself radiated a mysterious aura. It was clearly no ordinary creation. Below, in Fengdu City, countless gods and devils lifted their heads to observe the river drifting through the sky, its presence serene yet imposing. Those human emperors again. A god scoffed, lowering his gaze. Turning to those nearby, he muttered, "Ever since they arrived, their numbers have grown, and so has their arrogance. Though they are part of Fengdu's forces, I fear only the devils can match them. No need to watch. Let them indulge in their own battles." Upon the bridge, Second Ancestor's expression dimmed slightly. First Ancestor once sent that pleasure boat into Yudu to guide his wife's soul so they could meet upon this bridge. His voice grew heavy. But after their meetings were discovered, the messengers of death took her away. First Ancestor did not know. He continued waiting here, year after year, never seeing her again. I stood by the river then, watching him grow older day by day. Enough. We shall not speak of this. He shook off the memory, his eyes turning toward Chinmu as a smile returned to his face. And yet, here stands an overlord body, claiming we are outdated. It is time to show the younger generation the vastness of heaven and earth. Chinmu blinked in astonishment. Grandmaster, ancestors, you all know I possess the overlord body. The past human emperors revealed strange smiles in unison. How could we not? Little Bratsu has told us everything. We know it all. Chinmu stared at their eerie expressions, bewilderment rising within him. Do people become this strange after death? Human Emperor Chi Kang laughed heartily. Little Bratsu said he found a disciple with the overlord body, peerless under heaven. When we heard, we all agreed, once you die, you'll beat him to death again and make him die a second time. Chinmu frowned in confusion. Why would I beat village chief to death? The other emperors coughed loudly, fearing Chi Kang might reveal too much. Chi Kang quickly understood, grinning. Overlord Body Chin, you called us old, useless, outdated, unable to fight. Now it is time for us to seek justice. Grandmaster, I only said your techniques and divine arts were outdated. I did not say the rest. Chinmu hurried to explain. Tut! Chi Kang snorted, leaping from the bridge. He landed upon the river's surface and raised his head in laughter. Enough talk. Come and fight. His aura erupted like a raging storm. 7 thunderous explosions rang out as his 7 divine treasures opened in succession. His primordial spirit towered upon the divine bridge, stars gathering into a swirling Milky Way around him. Beneath lay the dark abyss of Yudu, while sun, moon, and 5 elements coalesced into 7 radiant stars. Each bearing a god standing upright. Below them stretched the land of the spirit platform, the 6 directions fully formed. Chi Kang's presence was overwhelming. He raised his hand, sealing his divine bridge treasure. It vanished. He sealed his life and death treasure. Yudu disappeared. He sealed his celestial being realm. His primordial spirit faded. His aura diminished, yet his arrogance remained untamed. Behind him, visions of black volcanoes erupted violently, flames and smoke roaring skyward. Chi Kang extended his right hand, forming a fist, then beckoned Chinmu with a curling finger. Overlord Body Chin, come! Chinmu's heart pounded with excitement, as though facing a worthy prey. Yet he hesitated slightly. Second ancestor, third ancestor, if I offend my grandmasters and ancestors, there isn't some punishment like 3 knives and 6 holes, right? The emperors laughed. We are not the heavenly devil cult. Why would we have such punishments? Go on. Reassured, Chinmu stepped forward onto the river, his expression turning solemn. Grandmaster, if I offend, fight! Chi Kang roared, stepping forward with a punch. The volcano visions behind him erupted violently, flames surging as black smoke filled the sky. Even the river beneath them began to boil. The sheer force of his fist caused the surrounding water to rise, separating into countless droplets that hovered and trembled in the air. Chi Kang charged forward through the ascending water, his fist growing ever larger, his aura increasingly violent. Formation markings spun within Chinmu's eyes, the Milky Way within his gaze encircling the sun. He saw everything, the droplets colliding against Chi Kang's face, bursting apart in slow clarity. Blind's nine heavens, eyes awakening skill. Boom! Their fists collided, sending shockwaves rippling across the river. Their garments fluttered violently as the volcanic flames were blasted skyward, scattered like shattered embers by a raging gale. Chi Kang's expression changed sharply as a crushing force struck his chest. Such terrifying, vital chi. The suspended droplets froze momentarily. Chinmu's fist shifted into a palm as his vital chi surged wildly. 8,000 swords! The droplets transformed into countless slender blades. 8,000 swords executing 17 variations, shifting unpredictably as they converged upon Chi Kang. Chi Kang's expression darkened. He soared backward, his body drifting like a wild goose skimming the river, rising and falling thrice, his movements elusive as he evaded wave after wave of sword transformations. Chinmu stepped forward, his speed beyond comprehension. Water droplets gathered into his hands, forming a long sword which he slashed downward. Swoosh! A storm of sword light erupted, engulfing everything. Chi Kang shouted, rising into the air. His palms moved in a blur, filling the sky with phantom strikes. But the swirling swords pierced through them, slicing his palms into sieves. Ha! Chinmu stomped heavily upon the river. A water dragon surged skyward. He grasped it, wielding it as a spear, thrusting forward in countless streaks that pierced Chi Kang midair. Chi Kang was impaled, lifted, then slammed brutally onto the river's surface. The impact exploded violently. The water dragon dissipated. Chinmu raised both hands to the heavens. Thunder and lightning intertwined, forming a lightning dragon that struck downward. Great overarching heavenly stars palm force. He cast a mudra. Behind him, stars filled the sky, forming a terrifying force field. 360 gods appeared, each striking forward with their palms. No sound accompanied this strike. Yet the river twisted violently, space itself warping under the simultaneous eruption of 360 palm forces. Chinmu withdrew his hand. Moments later, Chi Kang rose from beneath the water, drifting down the river past the Bridge of Life and Death. On the bridge, the past human emperors leaned forward to watch, then slowly turned toward one another in stunned silence. After a long moment, Fourth Ancestor spoke softly. About this overlord body, could Little Su have deceived us? Could such a thing truly exist in this world? Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. Upon the ancient bridge that spanned the flowing river, the past human emperors stood with expressions as strange as shifting clouds. Long ago, Village Chief had spoken of the so-called overlord body, claiming it to be nothing more than a fabricated tale, a harmless deception meant to spur Chinmu, this mortal youth, toward relentless cultivation, and they had believed him without question. Yet now, before their very eyes, at the same cultivation realm, human Emperor Chi Kang had fallen into disadvantage from the very first exchange. What followed was no mere defeat, but a relentless battering, struck down to such an extent that no ordinary mortal body, no matter how diligently tempered, should ever have been capable of achieving through effort alone. How could a mortal body, relying solely upon hard work, press a human emperor into such a wretched state? Because of this, even these ancient human emperors, who had witnessed countless storms of the martial world, could not help but waver in their hearts. Could it be that the overlord body truly existed beneath heaven and earth? On the bridge, human Emperor Yi Shan extended his vital chi, which surged and condensed into a vast, translucent hand. A snow-white finger, smooth as polished jade, reached out and lightly prodded human Emperor Chi Kang, who drifted helplessly with the current below. Human Emperor Chi Kang floated upon the river's surface, limbs spread wide, eyes staring blankly into the boundless sky. He lay utterly still. When Yi Shan's finger touched him, his body sank beneath the water, only to rise again moments later. Good disciple, human Emperor Yi Shan said with laughter hidden behind his lips. Have you finally accepted being beaten by your grand disciple? Damned old man. Human Emperor Qi Kang snapped, his voice filled with irritation. Stop poking me and let me have some peace. I'm not accepting anything. I'm just unsettled by this beating. Give me time to reflect on how I lost. Human Emperor Yishan could no longer restrain himself. Laughter burst forth like thunder, reveling in his misfortune. Still refusing to accept defeat? Human Emperor Qi Kang flipped over, face submerged, backside pointing toward the heavens, allowing the river to carry him farther and farther away. Qin Mu's heart tightened with concern. He leaned forward and shouted, Grandmaster, be careful not to choke on the water. Human Emperor Yishan waved a hand dismissively, laughter still lingering. This brat is always like this after a loss. Ignore him. He's wiping away his tears and doesn't want you to see. Qin felt a knot form in his chest. To have beaten his own grandmaster until the elder was reduced to such a state, it carried a faint sense of shame. Raised within disabled elderly village, he had always respected his elders. Of course, cripple and mute had not escaped his fists when sparring at the same realm, but still, I may have struck too heavily, Qin muttered, then raised his voice again. Grandmaster, my fist techniques are actually inferior to yours. I only relied on denser cultivation to overwhelm you, so please don't be saddened. He leapt lightly onto the bridge's edge, leaning over the railing as he called out to Qi Kang drifting away. I truly did not intend to go so hard. Your abilities were unusually strong, so my competitive spirit was stirred, and I used my full strength from the beginning. I rarely do that when facing experts of the same realm these days. A trace of desolation crept into his expression, tinged with melancholy. After all, I am the Overlord body. I thought I might finally meet an opponent of equal standing, yet who would have thought Grandmaster's abilities would be somewhat lacking? But this is not your fault. On the bridge, the human emperors clenched their fists, restraining themselves with immense effort. They watched as the young human emperor gazed wistfully at Qihang, who drifted further downriver. If only ancestors and grandmasters were born in the same generation as me, how wonderful that would be, Qin continued with a sigh. If we lived in the same era, you all could improve alongside me and become worthy rivals. It is a pity that you lived so long ago and cannot keep pace with the reforms of the Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor and myself. As a result, your divine arts, paths, and skills have all fallen behind the times. Crack. Crack. The ancestors' fists tightened until their knuckles sounded like breaking branches. They fought with all their might to suppress the urge to explode in fury. Human Emperor Lan Po hid a smile behind gritted teeth, the grinding sound chilling to the bone. Though the brat's words sounded humble, every sentence was like a blade, enough to enrage the living and resurrect the dead in fury. The past human emperors felt an overwhelming urge to pin him to the ground and thrash him soundly. Overlord Body Qin, human Emperor Yishan said with a stiff tone, though his face maintained a pleasant smile, you have only defeated that brat Qi Kang and already claim our paths and divine arts are outdated. Is that not a bit too boastful? Come, let me show you what true divine arts are. Qin turned and looked at this great grandmaster whose stature barely reached 5 feet, his face revealing a troubled expression. Ancestor, the path you walk is indeed that of divine arts, and they are undeniably powerful. However, at such close proximity, you are already dead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 16, 17 times. Human Emperor Yishan's anger surged uncontrollably. Lightning gathered within his palms, yet he forced himself not to strike the brat dead on the spot. At this distance, Qin continued calmly as though speaking to himself, even experts of the celestial being realm would not survive a single move from me. You cultivate divine arts, ancestor, but that means your corporeal body is lacking. At such close range, within the time it takes for you to speak a sentence, I could kill you 20 or 30 times. Human Emperor Yishan nearly spat blood. His face turned as dark as storm clouds. With a furious leap, he jumped from the bridge. A cloud gathered beneath his feet, lifting his stout figure as he retreated upstream. Such arrogance from a rascal, he shouted. Let me widen the distance before we fight. The cloud surged forward. 5 miles. 6 miles. He paused, feeling the distance sufficient. Then he recalled Qin terrifying sword speed. Not safe. He retreated another 3 miles. Then he remembered Qin speed in pursuit. Still not safe. Another 2 miles. I cannot retreat any further. or they will think I fear losing to my own grand disciple. Human Emperor Yishan turned back. The bridge had become a thin line, and Qinmu was but a speck upon it, his face flushed red. Such haste in retreat was indeed unbecoming. Come down, he shouted, steadying his breath, his voice resonant with vigor. On the bridge, second ancestor called out, Yishan, you forgot to seal your divine treasures. Human Emperor Yishan's face reddened further. In his nervousness, he had indeed forgotten. Quickly, he sealed his 3 great divine treasures and called again with renewed spirit. Come down, Thump. Qinmu leapt from the bridge into the river, connecting walls tapping blue mountains. Human Emperor Yishan struck first. Within his wide sleeves, his stubby fingers danced. Instantly, over 10 miles of river beneath him erupted. Water surged upward, transforming into towering blue mountains. Peaks and ridges rose layer upon layer, rumbling like the birth of a new mountain range. The sight was majestic. Yet within that beauty lay hidden killing intent. Yishan's divine arts had entered the Tao. Unlike others, his techniques did not erupt immediately. Only when one stepped within them would a single movement trigger catastrophic destruction. The rising blue mountains surged toward Qinmu. Qinmu's eyes shone brightly. Excitement surged through him like a roaring tide. Every strand of his vital qi trembled with exhilaration. This is the origin of Village Chief's first move, sword-treading mountains and rivers. It was born from this. To transform divine art into sword skill, Village Chief is truly a genius. Unable to restrain himself, Qinmu howled. True dragon overlord body. Too excited, in the past, he had suffered countless defeats beneath Village Chief's sword-treading mountains and rivers. Now, encountering its origin, it felt as though he was once again clashing against his master. His vital qi erupted, vast and boundless. Every strand that leaked from his body took the form of a dragon. Dragon vitality surged, shaking space itself. Strange dragon markings, like ancient runes and talismans, flickered across his body. This was a corporeal body divine art forged from the true dragon's cultivation method, combined with the overlord body 3 elixir technique. He would use flesh against spell. Qinmu charged forward, stepping upon the mountains as he dashed straight toward Yishan. Boom! 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 His fists and legs struck like thunder. Hundreds of true dragons roared and danced around him, shattering mountains and rivers. The divine art bombarded him, yet could not break his defenses. Human Emperor Yishan's expression changed drastically. This fellow was actually using his body to break through divine arts. Yishan shifted his technique, attacking frantically. Let me see how you break this. If you come close, you'll be beaten senseless. Mountains collapsed into waves. On the bridge, the emperors felt Qinmu's battle intent surge like a gale. This corporeal body divine art surpasses even second ancestors, third ancestor said gravely. Tuoyu, can you calculate his flaw? Human Emperor Tuoyu's eyes shimmered with formations as he calculated furiously, the dragon markings, their transformations, the flow of vital qi, muscle movement, technique pathways, divine treasure circulation. The calculations were immense, yet he remained calm. He has a flaw, Tuoyu said. Below, Qinmu cleaved through everything, nearing Yishan. It's at the human center. No, the left shoulder. No, now the back. Where is it exactly? Lanpo snapped. Tuoyu hesitated. Below, Yishan unleashed his ultimate technique, God Sealing Finger. The strike was silent, yet lethal. It pierced directly toward Qinmu's brow. Excellent, the emperors cheered. At that instant, Qinmu's brow split open. A spirit embryo emerged, merging with his soul into a primordial spirit. Galaxies swirled in its eyes, suns blazing. 2 beams of light shot forth. One shattered the God-sealing finger effortlessly. The other struck Yishan's chest, breaking his defenses and exposing a flaw. Sword-treading mountains and rivers. Dragon-like qi transformed into countless swords, drowning Yishan. Mountains and rivers formed from blades crashed down upon him. Sword of Founding Emperor, Sea of Blood. 10,000 swords merged, the river turned crimson. Heads of gods and devils floated within a sea of blood. Qinmu shifted, slashing down. Yishan rose, then drifted away, defeated. The river returned to clarity. Qinmu scratched his head. Ancestor Yishan. Yishan flipped face down, floating silently. Found it, Tuoyu exclaimed. His flaw is at the dantian, third from the base of his spine. I'll beat him. Lanpo leapt down. Moments later, she too floated back, defeated. I was wrong, Tuoyu cried. He only has 3 divine treasures. I calculated for 4. Say no more. Lanpo snapped bitterly. Toyu looked around helplessly. I won't be wrong next time. Why are you all looking at me like that? I truly won't.